Madam Chair and Mr. President, I have the honor to present these graduates for the admission to the degree of Masters of Business Administration, and Dr. Kay Devine and Dr. Pamela Haranick are joining me to receive the graduates. Okay. James Christian Ashclog, Sturgeon County, Alberta. The work that James does has him traveling a lot globally and dealing with the logistics of different time zones. A traditional university was just not an option, but AU was a great choice for him. He loved his international business course with Professor Alan Franklin, where the coursework and guest speakers were top-notch. He thanks his wife Kim for their love and support and for not letting him quit his studies every time things got rough. James Christian Ashclog. Azaz Ahmed, Camrose, Alberta. Azaz chose AU in part because of AU's positive reputation in the Canadian business community. He considers it a great achievement to have completed this program while working and raising a family. He did find it challenging to manage his MBA deadlines along with work deadlines as he works in finance, and they're always very tight. He thanks his wife and kids for putting up with him throughout the MBA journey. Azaz Ahmed. Anmar Husham Al-Kamil, Gloucester, Ontario. Before registering for this MBA, Amar was worried about adding another routine to an already busy schedule. But once he got started, he found he could manage it well enough, and he enjoyed it very much. Since completing his degree in March, he's actually been missing the study routine and is seriously considering the doctoral program. He thanks his wife, Sarah, for her support during his MBA studies and his belief in him. Anmar Husham Al-Kamil. Mark Anthony Andrews, Brampton, Ontario. When Mark got sick last September and nearly died, it forced him to cancel a course and delayed the completion of his program. AU staff members were very understanding, and he offers them special thanks, especially Carolyn Neufeld. He thanks all of the AU staff and faculty for their guidance and throughout the program, and most importantly, he thanks his wife, Tina, for her support, encouragement, and tolerance. He could not have done it without her. Mark Anthony Andrews. Elizabeth Louise Armstrong, Toronto, Ontario. Elizabeth's in-residence course, Mergers and Acquisition, held in San Diego, was a most memorable experience. Getting to know fellow students in person was wonderful. She thanks Brian, her rock, for his support, understanding, and love over the past few years. It's always cheering her on, and she gives special thanks to her family for standing behind her, especially her sister, Yvonne, who was instrumental in getting started in the journey. Elizabeth Louise Armstrong. Amr M. Awad, Grand Prairie, Alberta. Amr's favorite course was International Law with Alan Franklin, and for him it was more than a course. One mega challenge he faced while completing the MBA was getting promoted from general manager of one hotel to vice president of Western Canada, where he manages 14 hotels. He survived on just 4 hours of sleep every day. He thanks his wife for her support and his brother and friend Din for talking him into doing the MBA in the first place. Amr M. Awad. Laura Lee Barber, Calgary, Alberta. Laura thanks her husband for his tremendous support caring for their family so that she could focus on her studies. She thanks her daughters for her patience and understanding, as well as her family, her stepsons, and her extended family and friends. She thanks her dad for his constant encouragement and acknowledges Dave Catapan and Mittec Canada for their support. Finally, she thanks AU Business faculty for a wonderful experience. Laura Lee Barber. John William McNeil Barry, Calgary, Alberta. During his studies, John completed assignments in the office, at the dinner table, on a boat, in a travel trailer, in foreign countries, and just about everywhere. He learned that life continues no matter what the due date is, and just save that save button before you send it. He also thanks Carol and their children and continues for their continuous support and patience through his journey. John William McNeil Barry. Puembui Michael Baumy, Fort McMurray, Alberta. Mike is a compassionate and caring father of 7 and a grandfather of 2. His family gave him great support throughout his studies. He thanks his wife, Elizabeth, and his family for the many sacrifices they have made on his behalf. And he also acknowledges the support of his academic coaches, professors, and colleagues, and the positive impact that they had on him while completing his degree. Puembui Michael Baumy. Marc Jean Marcel Caillouette, Saint Lazare, Quebec. Mark wondered if he was too old for this, if he could handle the coursework on top of his employment responsibilities. Well, he's become a master at Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, as well as an APA expert. The secret? Time management. No procrastination allowed, and if you have a dream and a vision and a desire, you can succeed. He thanks his wife, April, and their 3 sons for the support, and as he focused on his MBA. Marc Jean Marcel Caillouette. Peter Chi Lung Chan, Edmonton, Alberta. Peter's favorite AU course was Strategy and Organization Analysis. It equipped him with a good way to understand the company he works for. His aim is to use the knowledge gained from his MBA to improve his work performance. And now that he's completed the degree, he's looking forward to spending more time with his family. He thanks them for their support, especially his eldest son, for always being understanding toward the time he needed to study. Peter Chi Lung Chan. Vijay Drumbas Kamar Chatterjee, Kitchener, Ontario. Vijay's supply chain management in residence course was fantastic. He enjoyed meeting fellow students, all as well as Paul Larson and Anshuman Kare, both excellent coaches. All of his coaches, he thought, in fact, were amazing, and his cohorts equally helpful, bringing fresh perspectives to the experience. And he offers thanks to his wife, Jaya, and his parents, Seema and DK, very supportive to him during his studies. Vijay Dhurmbesh Kumar Chatterjee. Herrick Wing Ho Chiang, Edmonton, Alberta. Herrick will always remember the excitement he felt upon getting accepted into the AU MBA program. He thanks his mom and dad for their tireless support and encouragement and for pushing him to excel. One day, he hopes to make a significant difference in his community as a result. One more personal note. The most fun and most Canadian thing that he's done was to run in the Vancouver Olympic torch relay. Herrick Wing Ho Chung. Cheryl Ann Christensen, Collington, Alberta. Now, Cheryl works with us at AU and acknowledges the generous support provided by the university, without which she could not have completed this program. She gives special thanks to her FB family, and along with many others from AU who provided support. She thanks her parents for sticking by her side, as well as her kids, Colin and Caitlin, who had to endure quite a lot for the sake of this journey. But now she says, Mom is back. Cheryl Ann Christensen. David Arthur Kaluka, Bradford, Ontario. David is a professor at George Brown College, educating in the field of international business and supply chain management. He chose AU for his MBA because the ability to receive top-grade education online from a Canadian university while managing his time for work, study, and leisure seemed like a great choice. He thanks his parents for their ongoing support throughout his life and his colleagues at work for encouraging and guiding him to excel. David Arthur Kalukia. Pyle Dawes, Calgary, Alberta. Throughout his AU studies, Pyle gained an understanding of the phrase, time flies, and a new appreciation for the importance of effective time management. His biggest supporter was his wife, Julmar, who sacrificed the most in order to support his degree. He thanks her for helping him to reach this milestone, and he thanks his professor, Rodney Beard, for the guidance and support provided while PL pursued his applied project. PL Dawes. Mian De Gia, Calgary, Alberta. AU was the best option for Mian because she simply could not commit time to sitting in a traditional classroom. She gives thanks to all the professors and classmates who helped her make the journey fulfilling. In particular, Professor Tim Narenz, who brought out the best in her. She also thanks her husband, who prompted her to return to school, and their children, Anton, Louise, and Daniel, who are also very understanding. Mian De Gia. Steve Dennison, Vaudreuil, Dorian, Quebec. One highlight of Steve's MBA experience was the quality and level of engagement of his fellow AU students and professor. The coaches were all great, but a special thanks goes to Tim Narenz and Rocky Dwyer for their coaching, sharing of experiences, senses of humor. He thanks his wife, Marguerite, for her support, without which he could not have achieved this goal. His friends at the Home Depot may have missed him these past 3 years, but now he's back. Steve Dennison. Lisa Allison DeVos, Edmonton, Alberta. One key reason Lisa chose AU was because it gave her the flexibility to run a business, be a hockey parent, and study at the same time. She enjoyed the diversity of people that she met along the way and always found ways to put to immediate practice some of the things she was learning. She thanks her husband, Jody, and their children, Michael and Rebecca, for allowing her the time to focus, even if it was in the hockey arena. Lisa Allison DeVoe. Dean Bradley Doge, Stony Plain, Alberta. One of Dean's fondest memories was working on the negotiation and conflict management in residence course. He enjoyed putting names to the faces and getting to know his fellow students. He thanks his wife, Dara Lee, son Jordan, and daughters Tennille, Ava, and Blakely for the time they allowed him to focus on his studies. He thanks his employer, Clark Builders, for the support of time, finances, and input. Dean Bradley Doge. Tabani Estakri, Mississauga, Ontario. Tabanda's favorite AU course was Operations Management. It made her realize how much of her career has been related to operations and how much she enjoyed it. She thanks her son Cyrus and her daughter Ariana for supporting her emotionally, intellectually, and throughout her AU studies. She could not have made it without them. She thanks her professors who were amazing and her classmates who made studying and learning both exciting and rewarding. Tabanya Eskraki. Michael Edward Etienne, Calgary, Alberta. Michael recalls working on assignments and writing discussion posts while watching the waves crash on the shores of Maui. One of the benefits of an online program, he says. He acknowledges his employer who funded his MBA, his co-workers who were the subject matter experts in their field, offering him knowledge and expertise. He thanks his wife, Karen, who picked up the slack on many of the household duties during his studies. Michael Edward Etienne. Abdallah Fairs, Edmonton, Alberta. Abdallah's in-residence class in Washington was both exciting and educational. Getting to visit the State Department, the Canadian Embassy, the World Bank, and other sites, including a tour of the White House, well, that was amazing. He acknowledges his family for their support, and without which this experience would not have been possible. His biggest thanks go to his wife, Nada, who patiently handled the parenting of their children, Noah, Nadine, Serene, and Yasemin. Abdullah Fares. Robert Douglas Farrell, Rockwood, Ontario. Robert chose the applied project route for his degree. It allowed him to explore an area of business that was especially relevant to his career. The project was very challenging, but he made it through thanks to the great support of his academic advisor. He gives special thanks to his wife, Carolyn, for her patience and support throughout the MBA journey. He's also received much appreciated love and moral support from their 4 children. Robert Douglas Farrell. Magdalena Anna Fennell, Calgary, Alberta. Magdalena appreciates the breadth of knowledge gained throughout this experience. It gave her a much better understanding of business and has turned out to be very helpful in her professional life. She acknowledges her favorite coach, Tim Nurenz, for his involvement in discussions and for the comments that said they were always interesting. She offers thanks to her husband, Kevin, for his patience and support over the past 3.5 years. Magdalena Anna Fennell. Denise Marie Fisher, Edmonton, Alberta. Denise chose the AU MBA for the flexibility it allowed to work around her busy schedule. One highlight was the Corporate Governance in Residence course and the stimulating presentations by Dr. Eris Solomon and Dr. Martin Lees. She extends her appreciation to her husband Richard and children Deanna and Xavier for their support while completing the degree. She expresses thanks also to Harvey, Athena, Virgil, and Nala. Denise Marie Fisher. Sydney Anthony Fontura, Edmonton, Alberta. Sydney credits the support of his wife and family for making this achievement possible, and he thanks them. All of the family gatherings, camping trips, vacations spent with his laptop were a sacrifice that they put up with. Now they can enjoy each other without the need to replicate. He also thanks Mark McNeil for the opportunity he so graciously provided, as well as Michael Morrell, Jim Holtby, Beverly Bowl, and Chris Lavoie for their support, mentorship, and guidance. Sydney Anthony Fontura. Nana Torres Gachelain, Toronto, Ontario. Nona remembers the long nights spent completing the weekly readings and trying to get consensus among fellow students for group work. She certainly enhanced her negotiation skills. She thanks her family and friends for their patience and support throughout her studies. And she also thanks her professors and fellow students who helped enrich her experience. Her boss was also pivotal in the process, of course. Nana Torres Gachelian. Caroline Rachel Gibbons, Aurora, Ontario. Caroline has become an expert juggler as a result of her studies with AU. She's learned to juggle family, a full-time career, plus other of life's responsibilities, and at one point was navigating a house move, traveling for business, and studying. The only thing that kept her on track was the love and support and encouragement of her family. And for that, she thanks Matthew, Hannah, and her partner, Naval, parents Gloria and David Gibbons for their support. Caroline Rachel Gibbons. Jordan Philip Goheen, Calgary, Alberta. For Jordan, the level of commitment required by this program was challenging. Fortunately, he had great support network made up of family and classmates, and they all worked with him to make it easier to reduce the distractions and engage him in thought-provoking discussion. He acknowledges his professor and the AU staff for their support and offers special thanks to his family for sticking with him throughout his journey. Jordan Philip Goheen. Dimitri Gordeev, Calgary, Alberta. Every one of Dimitri's AU courses was memorable in its own way. However, he remembers the first course best, Strategic Management, as being especially enriching, both for its content and the challenge it presented him as the first real test of an e-learning environment. He thanks his wife, Elena, his daughter, Natasha, and his extended family and friends who were at times deprived of his real presence due to the demands of MBA coursework. Dimitri Gordeev. Roseanne Hall, Edmonton, Alberta. Roseanne will remember all of the support she received from her coaches and classmates. One of the most proud things is getting an A in economics, which was most challenging of all courses. She thanks her husband Raymond and her children Brian, Paula, and Darren for their support while completing her MBA. She thanks her parents for setting an early example of what can be achieved through focus and determination. Roseanne Hall. Ian Robert Hayes, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Ian's job takes him to various places around the world, and he's worked on his MBA from 6 different countries, anywhere that had an internet connection. Another reason he appreciates AU's model is because of the diverse group of students that he was able to interact with, nationally and internationally. He thanks his spouse, Diana, and his family for their support during his studies. Ian Robert Hayes. Stephen John Heldman, Toronto, Ontario. Stephen's fondest AU memory was the in-residence course, Negotiations and Conflict Management. Meeting with his peers from previous courses and interacting with his colleagues added an extra dimension to that program. He thanks his parents, Barb and Jim, for their encouragement, and his girlfriend, Denise, for her support and patience. He now knows that he has all the time he needs to pursue his goals. It's a matter of priorities, he says. You just need to make the time. Stephen John Heldman. Benny Richard Hybert, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Initial reactions from Benny's friends and family range from, "Why are you working on an MBA at your age?" and "Oh, how inspiring." He thanks his sister and her husband and his children, Tyler and Tori, for their support. But most of all, he thanks his wife, Myrna, who faithfully listened to him go on and on and on about each of his courses. He gives special recognition to Professor Linda Bramble. Her leadership course to him was unforgettable. Benny Richard Hebert. Lorraine Irvine, Uxbridge, Ontario. Lorraine feels life is more meaningful now, and she has completed that degree. She feels she has much more to contribute and brings this value to her personal life and to her work life. She's also much more confident in her future due to her enhanced marketability. She's grateful to the support of her husband and her children over the course of her studies. Everyone took on more responsibility at home, and she's most thankful. Lorraine Irvine. Darcy Steve Jagodinski, Edmonton, Alberta. Darcy thanks his grandmother Madeline, his mom Erica, and his aunt Anna, and his best friend Lisa for supporting, encouraging, and mentoring him through his MBA studies. He was saddened by the passing of his grandmother, but as she wanted him to complete his studies, he's done that to honor her memory. He also acknowledges Maggie Mateer for the encouragement and support she provided him during his applied project. Darcy Steve Jagodinski. Paula Alejandra Jerez, Spruce Grove, Alberta. Before registering with AU, Paula did research on the best MBA experience online, and AU came out on top. She carried the material around with her for 3 years before she registered, and she's found the MBA to be the most grueling achievement of her life, but she wouldn't change it for the world because she loved every minute of it. This would not have been possible without the amazing support of her parents, Marty and Rosa, and her children, Kater and Jada. Paula Alejandra Jerez. Ava Christine Kalaznik, Siobhan, Saskatchewan. Ava found the AU MBA program appealing because it gave her the ability to expand her specialization in leisure sciences. The distance learning aspect was also an attraction since she lives a few hours away from any city. She thanks her family, especially her parents, her grandparents, sisters, and husband, for believing in her and for accompanying her on this roller coaster. She loves them all. Ava Christine Kalaznik. Nadina Natalia Kasim, Thornhill, Ontario. Nadina started this MBA program with 1 child and ended it with 3. She considers it a testament for managing and keeping one's personal and work lives in true balance. She sees this as an example to her children and works hard, that hard work pays off, and that obstacles serve only to allow us to find different routes to success. She thanks both of her moms for providing her assistance, and her husband, Kieran, and son, Joshua, for their unwavering support. Nadina Natalia Kasim. Stephen George Kelleher, Calgary, Alberta. Stephen's laptop died about 1 week before the comprehensive exam. Thankfully, he backed up all his work, though, and the online environment helped him to get back up and running within a day or so. He thanks his wife, Carrie, and their children, Summer, Sasha, and Scarlett, for allowing him the time he needed to complete his schoolwork. He thanks Dale, his manager at ATCO Power, for supporting his MBA application and for the subsequent funding, of course. Stephen George Kelleher. Michael Andrew Corgel, Edmonton, Alberta. For Michael, the International Business and Legal Risk Management course held in Washington with Alan Franklin was an experience he both fondly remembers and appreciates for years to come. He gives special recognition to his wife, Dagmara, to whom he is forever indebted for her unwavering patience, support, and encouragement. And now, please don't be alarmed if he dashes off the stage, as they're expecting the appearance of their second son anytime now. Michael Andrew Corgel. Sridevi Kote, Novi, Michigan. Balancing family, work, and studies was an achievement in itself for Sridevi. She feels that her MBA course has also helped her to grow professionally. She thanks her supervisor for letting her work from home on days she had school projects due, and she acknowledges her husband for all the support in the home and with their children. She also thanks her professors and classmates for the help they provided throughout the program. Sridevi Kote. Colleen Elizabeth Lang, Heidelberg, Ontario. While completing her degree, Colleen's job had her working 12-hour days with a 3-hour commute. She made it to work during her postings at 4:30 a.m. One of the best things about her studies was having access to people and resources that could feed her thirst for knowledge and her desire to become a better leader. She thanks her husband and her daughters for their support during her studies. Her daughter Ren is here today from the UK, London. Colleen Elizabeth Lang. Yuk Ching Lam, Scarborough, Ontario. Yuk Ching's acknowledges are very basic and clear. She wants to thank her AU coaches and all of the AU staff, and most of all, her husband for all the support that he gave throughout the MBA journey. It was only through the kind help that made this mission impossible task become possible. Thank you to everyone. Yuk Ching Lam. David James Leatham, Waterton, Ontario. David's favorite AU experience was definitely Dr. Tim Narenz's Managing Acquisitions course in Tampa. It was a great learning experience, and also it led to great team bonding. One professional achievement that resulted in the MBA was being made Vice President of Operations for John Deere. He thanks his wife, Christine, for her patience and support over the past 3 years, And now that he's finished his degree, he plans on sleeping more. David James Leatham. Daniel Mark Leckelt, Sherwood Park, Alberta. Daniel chose AU for its reputation and for enabling him to advance his education while working and growing his family business. His most challenging circumstance was opening a manufacturing plant in Phoenix, right in the middle of his studies. The plant opened in 2013 with 1 employee, and now it has 200. He thanks his mother for her ongoing encouragement and his partner BJ for her support and understanding throughout his studies. Daniel Mark Leckelt. Margaret Helen Lesage, Burlington, Ontario. During her MBA studies, Margaret moved from Manitoba to Alberta, and then twice within Alberta. With each move, it wasn't the packing or where she would end up living that was her primary concern. Rather, it was solely on being able to access Lotus Notes. She thanks her family and friends for supporting her decision to go for the MBA. She had once thought it was out of reach, but now she set her personal bar of what is possible much higher. Margaret Helen Lesage. Tommy Huynh Liu, Edmonton, Alberta. During Tommy's first course, his wife Lynn went into labor with their 3rd child. She asked him to get her bag ready for the hospital, and 30 minutes later, when she went to check on him and found him on his computer, he was trying to submit his first assignment. He thanks Lynn and their children, Raiden, Hannah, and Ryu, for their support during his studies. He also thanks his mom, Mai, and his siblings and their spouses. Tommy Huynh Liu. Siyi Liu, Edmonton, Alberta. Si began working on the MBA as a nurse. 6 years and 3 children later, she's now leveraging her new abilities in critical and strategic thinking to launch a new business in senior assisted living. She thanks her family, especially her parents and husband, who supported her and helped her through challenging times. She also thanks AU, and most particularly Patricia, in encouraging her to complete. Siyi Liu. Andres Reisard-Lichko, Edmonton, Alberta. One resource that Andreas referred to in almost all of his assignments was the Essentials of Strategic Human Resource Management and Organizational Behavior, written by Dr. Helen Lam. He thanks Dr. Lam for this valuable resource, and he also thanks his wife, Anna, for her never-ending support over the past 3.5 years. Without her, this would not be possible. He's excited about the opportunities that will be now available to him since he's completed his degree. Andreas Reisard-Lichko. Lisa Ann Mackey, London, Ontario. Lisa Ann looked into the MBA after a friend and mentor of hers, who was an alumnus, spoke to her about the program. She did some research and felt it was perfect for her. She acknowledges several people for supporting and contributing to her success: her husband Mick, her children Evan and Wade, her friend Joan, and many AU staff members, especially Dr. Tim Narenz and Dr. Robert Tipple. Lisa N. Mackey. Matthew McLean, Black Falls, Alberta. A highlight for Matthew was the wide range of industries and markets represented by the other students he was learning with. and by the AU faculty. This opened his eyes to the diverse applicability of his education and business experience. He gives a huge thank you to his wife Amanda, his sons Jaden and Jordan for their support and patience during his studies. He now pledges to no longer play audiobooks on road trips or to take textbooks on family vacations. Matthew McLean. Naef Magoob, Fort McMurray, Alberta. Naef considers it a privilege to have been able to connect with fellow cohorts, professors, and other AU staff during his MBA experience. Many of those connections will last for a really long time. He thanks his wife, Patek, for her encouragement and support. She was the main motivation and inspiration throughout this journey. Without her, he wouldn't be here today. And he and Patek have been working on their master's degrees together over the past few years. Naef Magoob. Alexander Allen William Mather, Edmonton, Alberta. For Alexander, the mobility aspect of the AU program was so important. He needed the ability to change cities as it was required by his work. And one thing he particularly appreciated was the range of experiences and students and professors in the program, what they brought to the discussion, enabling a deeper understanding of the subject matter. He thanks his wife, Melissa, for her support, advice, suggestions, and motivation, without which this day might not have come. Alexander Allen William Mather. Joel P. McGovern, St. Albert, Alberta. Joel's leadership course in Halifax stands out as his favorite AU experience. It was great to meet and interact with fellow students. The week was fun and rewarding, and Barry Wright was an outstanding presenter. He acknowledges and thanks his wife for the endless support, patience, and sacrifices that she made to support his quest. He's also grateful for the support he received from his work colleagues, as well as from CEO Mike and his boss, Vic. Joel McGovern. David Bruce McKinnon, Peachtree City, Georgia. While working on his degree, David made work-related transfer from British Columbia to Atlanta in the Deep South, a significant change for his family. And the first year they stayed in BC while he commuted back and forth. Also during his study, he helped to successfully integrate 9 manufacturing facilities into his company. He thanks his wife for her support throughout the studies. Without it, the completion of his degree might not have been possible. David Bruce McKinnon. Jody Ella McPherson, Moosehorn, Manitoba. What a challenge it was for Jody working full-time, being a mom, and coaching youth sports while taking this MBA. Not wanting to interfere with being a mom, she completed 95% of her coursework during times when most people were sleeping. Her sleep patterns are almost back to normal now, and she thanks her parents for their encouragement, Brad for always being there, and her son Calder for giving her inspiration. Jody Ella McPherson. David Roswell McPherson, Dorchester, Ontario. David's favorite memory was the in-residence portion of the international law and legal risk management with Coach Alan Franklin in Washington, D.C. The entire trip exceeded his expectations. The reason he chose AU was because it was recognized with its 25 plus years of experience, and the asynchronous delivery enabled him to study while traveling around the world for business. He thanks his wife, Peggy, for her encouragement and understanding. David Roswell McPherson. Andrew Ross Mitchell, Thunder Bay, Ontario. Andrew chose AU because it had the best reputation of all the online MBA programs he gave consideration to. His favorite course were those coached by Tim Nurenz. He appreciated the feedback because it was honest and delivered with a sly twist of humor. One challenge he faced while continuing his studies was through family vacations in Europe and Hawaii. He just packed up his computer and study materials and he brought them on all his trips. Andrew Ross Mitchell. Wilfred Alberta Molina, Calgary, Alberta. Wilfred is a professional engineer, registered in 5 Canadian provinces. He found that his economics and energy courses were extremely valuable for his career. He feels that his MBA caps his career so nicely, and the way forward now has become even more clear. He acknowledges his daughter Nicole and Geraldine, his wife Monica, and his mom Luz for the support they provided throughout his studies. Wilfred Alberta Molina. Keith Roger Mose, Fairmont Hot Springs, British Columbia. It will be fun, they said. That's why Keith signed up for this program. However, he still remembers the jitters right after his first course. A more enjoyable experience was his trip to San Diego for the Acquisitions and Mergers course. Now that he's completed his degree, he has a definite sense of pride and is grateful for all the wonderful people he met along the way. He thanks mostly his wife and 3 children for their love and support while pursuing his goal. Keith Roger Mose. Stephen Mueller, Cochrane, Alberta. Stephen's Developing Leaders course in Halifax was a standout experience. It was a great group with great teachers, and he found Barry to be a fantastic lecturer. He appreciates AU for providing the distance learning opportunity. If not for AU, he would likely have abandoned his pursuit of an MBA. And he thanks his wife for understanding the time commitment required for the program and his employer, Birchcliff Energy, for their support. Stephen Mueller. Leah Danielle Muscat, Edmonton, Alberta. One of Leah's favorite courses was Developing Leaders in Halifax in 2015. She had an incredible time meeting amazing AU staff members and her MBA peers. It was a week of uncertainty, of nerves, and amazing growth. She extends her heartfelt thanks to her parents, Rory and Donna, to her brother, Xander, and to husband, Dylan, as well as many other family members who are all on her side right from the beginning. Leah Danielle Muscat. Johnson Ofari Mensa, Brampton, Ontario. The AUMBA was recommended to Johnson by his professional accounting body, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. He found the flexibility of the program to be appealing as well. Once begun, it was a challenge to balance family life, work, and education, but his faith, along with the great support of his wife, truly made a positive difference for realizing his goal. Johnson Ofari Mensa. Alan Glenn Parkin, Strathmore, Alberta. Alan enjoyed reading his course materials in advance and relating to what he read to the circumstances in his life at the time. He experienced numerous management challenges, and quite often timely subjects in his course readings actually assisted him in his daily job role and responsibilities. He thanks AU professors, fellow participants in the program for the learning opportunities they all shared. Alan Glenn Parkin. Paula Ponte, Okotoks, Alberta. As a full-time professional managing 12-hour day work schedules and traveling around the world on business, the AU program was the best choice for Paula. It enabled her to pursue an MBA. However, with so many commitments, including the course readings and assignments, the discipline she found was the key factor. She thanks everyone who supported her on her journey, and one thing she will remember about her AU experience is replicate, replicate, replicate. Paula Ponte. Charles Anthony Arnold Rushton, Calgary, Alberta. Charles acknowledges Professor Tim Narenz and the effort and passion he brings to his coaching. He learned so much from Tim's course about organization, divine, and culture. Seeds were planted there and eventually became his applied project. He thanks his wife and children for supporting him with their patience and time while he holed away and studied. He also thanks his parents for their ongoing support and encouragement. Charles Anthony Arnold Rushton. Joel Vincent Shraven, Port Hope, Ontario. A few years ago, Joel's wife, Jacinta, completed her Master's of Education, and he watched her with admiration and envy. He was so inspired to pursue a degree of his own. He now thanks her for being his biggest supporter throughout the studies, from encouraging him to apply, to keeping him focused on his studies, and to being here to celebrate his achievement. He's now looking forward to applying what he's learned to a brand new venture. Joel Vincent Shraven. Robert Ian Shaw, Airdrie, Alberta. Robert's applied project, required as part of his MBA, was daunting from the start. He never before had to explain anything in so much critical detail and assessment. Personal persistence, combined with the help of his coach, got him through that grueling process. He acknowledges and thanks his wife and son for allowing him all the time he needed through each of his courses. Now, he feels a great sense of personal accomplishment. Robert Ian Shaw. Rajinder Singh, Edmonton, Alberta. It's a great feeling for Rajinder to graduate with a master's degree the same year that his oldest daughter is graduating with her undergraduate degree. He made a promise, and he kept it. And now he's worried that his 12-year-old daughter will ask for a similar commitment. He thanks his wife Yasmin, his daughters Simon and Segal, and his parents for their unwavering support and unconditional love throughout this academic journey. Rajinder Singh. Yuwin Sandy Situ, Calgary, Alberta. Yuwen was referred to AU by another AU alumnus. She appreciated the flexibility of the program as well as all the learning opportunities that presented themselves from both her professor and amongst her fellow course mates. She extends a most sincere thanks to all who supported her throughout the 3 years of her program and now looks forward to applying what she has learned in both her professional and personal life. Yuwen Sandy Situ. Varshan Sivakamur, Manville, Texas. Around the midpoint of Varshan's program, he received an invitation to change work locations from Edmonton to Houston. And while the transition added to the stress of his MBA studies, his organizational skills learned along the way helped him to overcome his challenges. He was able to successfully continue his education. He thanks his family and professors for their extensive support over the 3 years that took him through this MBA program. Varshan Sivakumar. Colin Ray Smith, Calgary, Alberta. Colin's son was born during his AU studies, and the flexibility of the program meant that he could get some studying done, even in the hospital. One course that he truly enjoyed was Advanced Project Management. It was challenging, plus he was able to work with his classmates in person. He thanks his wife, Simi, for her support while pursuing his degree. And by the way, he thinks he may be the only AU graduate who has served in the French Foreign Legion. Colin Ray Smith. Jeffrey Richard Smith, San Diego, California. Every one of Jeffrey's AU courses had direct application in his career. Over the course of the program, strategic goals were clarified, and he realized he was no longer aligned with his employer. That clarity was instrumental in choosing his next employment opportunity. Although his parents, in-laws, children, and friends all supported him in many ways on his quest for his degree, his wife was his biggest supporter and a key contributor to this success. Jeffrey Richard Smith. Krista Dawn Teeple, Lethbridge, Alberta. Prior to starting this degree, Krista talked to family and friends about completing a second master's degree. They all thought she was crazy. As it turns out, not only is school her passion, it's now her hobby. She thanks her boyfriend, Deborah, for supporting and encouraging her, and she also thanks her mother-in-law, Dara Lynn, for always being there. Finally, she thanks her co-workers, Caitlin, Kristen, and Cheryl, for pushing her when it was necessary. Krista Dawn Teeple. Mark R. Teeple, Calgary, Alberta. All of Mark's AU professors were great. His best memory was listening to Dr. Larson's amazing supply chain experiences during the in-residence course. When Mark started his MBA, he and his wife Sherry and their children Nate, Mike, and Maddie had a family meeting to make sure everybody understood the commitment and would help him. He gives a huge thank you to each of them for pitching in over the past 2 to 3 years. Mark R. Teeple. Marcia Faye Maxine Trudeau, Wick-Wiam-Kong, Ontario. It was always exciting for Marcia to start a new course and meet fellow students. Her in-residence electives were great. She'll never forget the experience traveling to Singapore for the international, and while 3 months pregnant, no doubt. In fact, both of her daughters were born while completing this degree. She acknowledges and thanks her fiancé, Saul, for his support with their daughters and for his encouragement throughout her studies. Marcia Faye Maxine Trudeau. Lori Lynn Tuckwell, Fonthill, Ontario. Lori Lynn chose AU for the flexibility of online learning, and even though it was a risk, considering she had auditory issues, it turned out very well. She's grateful to Coach Tim Narenz and Barry Wright for encouraging and inspiring the whole person to show up for class and not just the AU student. She thanks her AU family, or her family, friends, and work colleagues and AU faculty for the MBA journey, the wild adventures, she calls it. Lori Lynn Tuckwell. Adam James Watt, Ottawa, Ontario. Adam acknowledges and thanks his wife, Erin, whose encouragement and motivation and limitless support made this degree possible. He would remember the in-residence portion of his Developing Leaders course that took place in BC and the lectures and workshops delivered, led mostly by Professors Barry Wright and Deborah Hurst. Their passion and command of the subject material made the course one to remember. Adam James Watt. James Alexander Wingate, Rockwood, Ontario. James is very proud to be following in his mom and dad's footsteps, as well as his grandfather's as a police officer. His parents couldn't be here, but they're watching him online, so he says, "Hi, Mom, hi, Dad." He thanks his fiancée, Hillary, his parents, Jim and Eileen, his brother, Andrew, and his fellow students and professors for all of their support. He now plans to use the skills that he's learned to keep his upcoming wedding on time and under budget. Good luck. James Alexander Wingate. Angeline Wong, Toronto, Ontario. Despite bouts of illness, Angeline's 1 week spent in London, England for her UK elective was one of the best AU experience she had. It was her first time in Europe and a great opportunity to learn from peers with a wide range of experience and background. She acknowledges her father, Thang Quang Wong, and her mother, Meline Chin Wong, for their support during her studies. Angeline Wong. Carla Ray Yeaman, Canmore, Alberta. Some of Carla's greatest memories on this journey were formed during the in-residence courses where she was able to interact with fellow students and coaches in person. She appreciated the network of support formed throughout the connections. She thanks her husband, Trevor, and her children, Jared and Janelle, for their encouragement and support. Now, after studying so intently for so many years, she needs to start developing new hobbies. Carla Ray Yeaman. Scott Clifford Young, Vancouver, British Columbia. Security Products and Technology News named Scott, one of the top 10 security professionals in Canada, under 40 for 2016. There was also this other achievement in the Edmonton Sun contest about being a most eligible bachelor. He thanks his fiancée Jamie for her support, which was essential to his AU success, and acknowledges his parents and employer, Garda World, for significant support they provided. Scott Clifford Young. Carol Wing Chung Young, Calgary, Alberta. A few of Carol's favorite coaches were Dr. Keppel, Dr. Fortune, and Dr. Julian. They were engaging, and she appreciated the encouragement they all offered her. She also found daily discussions with fellow students to be stimulating and relevant. Thanks her husband, Daniel, for his unconditional love and continual support. And her children, Olivia, Cameron, and her siblings and friends, for their understanding throughout her studies. Carol Wing Chung Young. Deborah Vandewalker, Cambridge, Ontario. Deborah acknowledges her late husband, Jeffrey Douglas Stewart, for helping her realize that her MBA was a good fit for her and for pushing her to pursue her MBA. He was her study buddy as they worked together until he eventually succumbed to cancer. After he was gone, it was a real challenge for her to continue, but she did. She persevered. She also acknowledges her late mother, who is cheering her along to this very final day. Deborah Vandewalker. I have one last one to read here. Jeffrey Douglas Stewart, Cambridge, Ontario, as well. Jeff Stewart was a person who believed in lifelong learning. His brilliant mind needed ongoing intellectual stimulation. While working on his MBA, he was already planning to apply for the DBA. When he received his cancer diagnosis, it was a given that he would, with his wife Deb, continue in their studies. Otherwise, the cancer would have won. In Jeff's words, only 6 months later, cancer won. And from his hospital bed, he uploaded what turned out to be a final assignment 24 hours before he took his last breath. He wants to thank his coaches, his classmates, and all of AU for the support, the kindness, and understanding. And I think he would have been very proud and happy to be standing here today. Jeffrey Douglas Stewart.